So the fourth stage of the learning cycle is unconscious competence. So unconscious competence is when you are competent, you're able to do the job and do it well, and you're doing it unconsciously. So you don't even realize what you're thinking. Now imagine you're driving down the road and you're listening to your radio program, and you're engaged in that, you're thinking about that. Well, your brain, your conscious brain is listening to the radio, but your subconscious brain is driving your car. You're unconsciously competent when it comes to driving. Now, if you're 14 years old and you just got your driver's permit, it's really hard to do that because you have to really focus on driving your car. You have to focus on that, and you can't have distractions. That's why they don't let any kids talk on the phone or have anything distracting going on in the car. And that's why it's important just to keep them focused. That's why they drive with their parents for a while, because parents can keep them focused on what they need to do until they develop that unconscious competence to be able to drive without thinking consciously. You know, when it becomes habits and built into your subconscious. And that's a great thing. I remember back when I was 16 and learning to drive, and I just thought, at first I thought, well, this is going to be really easy. And then I got into it and I thought, oh, I could kill myself or kill someone else so easily. And then I was nervous about driving, and I was afraid to run into things. I remember just thinking about everything, looking around, trying to make sure of everything, because nothing came natural. And then when just a few years later, then I thought I was invincible. I thought it was just, I had this unconscious competence, and then I figured I could do no wrong with driving a car. But then I got into an accident, and that fixed that problem. So anyway, so unconscious competence. This is when the person arrives at being unconsciously competent, where natural, integrated, higher levels of performance are achieved entirely unconsciously. Think about how the teenager's grown up to be you, and now think about your experience of driving. Most of you that are listening probably don't even think about driving. You just jump in your car and you just go, and that's the unconscious competence. And in this stage, this is where performance begins to skyrocket, because you can get out of your own head and you can just start performing, and you can focus on growing in other areas because you've already got certain skills under your belt. So, and this is really important to understand this in the leadership world too. If you're a restaurant manager or a restaurant owner, and you go through this cycle of learning, and you come to the point where in several of your different responsibilities, you come to a place of unconscious competence, that just makes your job so much easier. You can kind of put that to rest, knowing that I already learned that, I know how to do it. Now I can move on and I can keep growing. I can get better at these things, or I can move on and learn new things. But it's hard at the beginning when you don't know much and you're trying to figure it out, and you're going through this cycle and trying to develop habits. So it's important to realize that we all go through these stages, including anybody that you might coach. Anybody that you're going to coach is going to go through all of these stages too. They're going to start with a place where they have incompetence that they're not aware of. So they're starting with the unconscious incompetence, and they're going to move right into the conscious incompetence. So they have to become aware of what they're not competent of. And then they need to move into the conscious competence, where they actually are conscious of it and they're beginning to become competent. And then, of course, moving into the unconscious competence, that's the goal. That's what we want to do when we're coaching people. We want to help them to move from one stage to another. And that's not easy to do because there's a lot of roadblocks in the way, no doubt. So I want to talk about the coaching cycle. So we just talked about the learning cycle, going through these 4 stages, and how everybody goes through these 4 stages pretty much with anything that we learn. I want to talk about the coaching style, and that is, how do we walk alongside of somebody while they go through this process, and how can we help them move from one stage to another? So the first thing, when you think about it, if somebody is unconsciously incompetent, that means that they don't have awareness. They don't even know that they're incompetent. So the first stage for a coach would be to bring awareness to that person, help them understand their blind spots, help them see what they can't see so they understand that. Maybe you've got a person that is wanting to be coached, they want to move into another position or another level, and they don't know what that level is. Or maybe they think they know what that level is. They know what those skills are, but they're misguided somehow. I'll give you an example. So I've had several people come to me, potential owners of Papa Murphy's, that would come and say, hey, I want to have lunch with you. And they would tell me, I'm looking at putting up a store in the Des Moines area or wherever. And I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions. I've got some information from Papa Murphy's corporate, but now I need to find out information from you. And so I'd ask them a lot of questions like, why is it that you want to, open up a Papa Murphy's restaurant? And I'd get a lot of different answers. A lot of times I'd hear people say, well, because I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss. I want to get out of the rat race of corporate politics. And I've made some money. I've put some money away, and so I want to use that now so that I can be my own boss. And then maybe I might follow up with another question: is, have you ever been in restaurant leadership before? And a lot of times I would hear somebody say, no, I've never done that before. I've always been, a lawyer. I've always been in banking, or, whatever. And I would scratch my head a little bit. I'd wonder, so why do they think that they can be in the restaurant industry if they've never done this before? It takes a certain kind of skill to be able to run a store. You guys all know that, and you all have that. But not everybody does. Not everybody does, but sometimes people think they can. They think because they're successful in one area of business, they believe that they can be successful in other areas. And I've had a number of people that have talked about opening up a Papa Murphy's restaurant, and they've said, well, how hard can it be? And that's unconscious incompetence. I may be talking to a person that is completely incompetent to operate a restaurant, but they don't even realize it. So sometimes for me, it's been bringing some awareness to what it really takes to do this job. Sometimes that's bringing awareness to a manager. Maybe it's a shift leader that wants to be an assistant manager or a general manager. Sometimes people aren't aware of what it really takes to be that. They don't realize that their current level isn't there yet. And so bringing awareness and helping people see their blind spots is important. And to help see their limitations. So bringing awareness is probably the first step really to coaching that's most important. Helping people see the truth. And you can do that by just asking a lot of questions. It's not about telling people about their situation, but it is by asking questions. Why do you believe this? Are you able to do this? Have you ever done it before? What are the difficulties that you think you'll encounter by doing this? And so bringing an awareness so that people can actually see what it is that they're seeking and have a better understanding of and a better awareness. Then they can at least move into the conscious incompetence. Then they realize, oh, well, this is going to be harder than I thought. So now I understand that this is going to take more for me than I originally anticipated. So at this point, this person becomes consciously incompetent. And when you're consciously incompetent, at least you're facing the truth a little bit more. You're a little bit more aware of some of the hurdles that are coming down the line. And if you don't get somebody to this stage, it's going to be impossible to coach them. It's going to be impossible to really get them to be successful until they get to the point where they're at least conscious of the roadblocks ahead. Okay, so the next part then, as we move through this, now as we go from consciously incompetent to conscious competence, there's a process that needs to happen that a coach can help with, and that is decisiveness. So here's the thing: there's a fork in the road. When you become conscious of your incompetence, you have a choice. You either do it and become consciously competent, become competent and learn how to do it, or you give up because you don't think you can do it. It depends on whether you're stuck. This place right here, conscious incompetence, this is the place where most people get stuck. They don't think they can do it, they realize they can't do it, and they choose not to try. And so a coach has a very important role with this person. And maybe it's helping them decide to do it anyway. Maybe they're afraid, but they need to decide to do it anyway. Maybe they're not confident enough, and so a coach needs to help them, maybe with their confidence, help them realize that, if you just commit to this, you can do this. You can become competent. I know you think you can't right now, but you can. You can do this. Sometimes at this stage, a coach's main objective is just to let people know you can do this. I've got your back. And I wouldn't tell you you could do this if I didn't think so. And so decisiveness, helping people make that choice to try, to get involved and to commit to jumping on board and giving it a shot. I think that's important. And coach is big with that. It's really hard for people to do that independent if they don't have somebody that's encouraging them, if they don't have somebody in their court helping them as a cheerleader or as somebody mentoring them or coaching them. It's really hard. People stay stuck when they're by themselves. They only get unstuck when they have other people helping them move to places. So